All right, welcome in. I know baseball is going on literally right now, but went ahead and am going live anyway because at some point I want to get to bed, and this game is dragging on a little bit longer than I expected. So welcome into the Rubber Report. My name is Michael Borky. Appreciate you being here as always. So I am going to talk football, though. I know baseball is going on at the moment, but there are two stories that have been going on for a while, but you've gotten more clarity on things over the last couple of days, and change is coming yet again in college football. Now, we're not talking NIL or anything like that. That change is not coming just yet. It's more about playoff format and then the SEC schedule. Those two things are directly connected to each other, and there was some reporting recently about both. Is it good for Ole Miss? Does it help Ole Miss? Does it hurt Ole Miss? Or is it kind of a wash? Let's talk about that tonight on this bit of an abbreviated version of the show. Again, my name is Michael Borky. I'm glad that you're here. Ole Miss is leading 8-4 in the seventh at the moment. I put it out there on Twitter. You guys know me. I like to put thoughts on Twitter from time to time. And I don't like games like this at this point in the season. There has got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way to schedule baseball games than how they currently do it. And it's not exactly about this particular Ole Miss team, because I've gotten some responses. Well, they're going to be a 2 seed regardless, so it doesn't matter. Well, scheduling RPI bombs on the last week of the season just because this particular team is going to be a 2 seed or a 3 seed, regardless, it doesn't seem like a great idea to me either. I don't know what the answer is, but this game, it isn't helping anybody. I mean, Ole Miss is getting some guys some work that really haven't gotten the chance this season. And I mean, UT Martin had a Mississippi kid hit a home run at Ole Miss, and that's cool, right? So there's little moments, I'm sure, that help. But to me, having games on your schedule at this point in a season that can only hurt your metrics makes no sense to me at all. And I don't know what the answer is. I don't know if Jay Powell, who is a former Mississippi State guy, played on the Braves, World Series champion. You guys probably at least know the name. With us on the radio show, once said that he would scrap midweek games altogether and just have 4-game weekends. You play 4-game weekends, Thursday to Sunday, instead of Friday to Sunday, and schedule it that way. Or some people have suggested midweek games, like non-conference or non-power conference midweek games should not count against you at this point in the season, or you can remove your 2 lowest RPI wins, things like that to change this, because there is no reason, at least logically from my perspective, that you should play a game where if you win by 20 runs, it still hurts you at this point in the season. And with so much on the line, I mean, you've got teams that are on the hosting bubble, teams on the national seed bubble, teams on the bubble, and you're playing a team with an RPI in the 200s, regardless of how well you play tonight, it's still going to damage you metrically. Just does not make sense to me. That phenomenon doesn't exist in basketball. Now, there are some teams that you play with in your conference that have bad nets back in the day, bad RPIs that could hurt you if you lose, but at least it's somebody that's on your playing field. And it's your conference schedule. But to have a non-con game on Tuesday of the last week of the season, that will only hurt you, that there's got to be a better way. I think it's a waste of time is what games like this is. It just doesn't make sense to me. Even if like they only drop one spot or they don't drop any spots at all in the RPI tonight, the fact that it even exists at all. I mean, you saw it earlier this year. They played Alcorn and they dropped spots, and I don't think anything gets accomplished by playing this game today. I really don't. So I don't know what the answer is. I found myself really bored and felt like I was wasting my time tonight. Maybe that's a cynical way to look at it. So Anyway, glad you guys are here. The podcast is brought to you in part by Toyota of Brookhaven, Exit 40 in Brookhaven, or online at toyotaofbrookhaven.com. It's a car buying experience that'll be given to you by people that will actually take care of you. So even though you may not live in Brookhaven, it's worth the trip. So check out their online inventory. You don't just want to buy a car from somebody in your backyard because they're in your backyard, right? That is not the smartest financial decision. So check them out, toyotaofbrookhaven.com. They have great interest rates as low as 1.99% if you want a new Tundra. A service department that's one of the highest rated in the state, and they'll service any make or model. Also, if you tell them I sent you, any in-stock new Toyota, $1,000 off the top before anything else, $1,000 on me, regardless. If you just tell them that I sent you. So check them out, Toyota of Brookhaven. They deliver. Also, don't forget to subscribe if you have not already to the podcast feed wherever you get it. Just search Rebel Report. So these two stories are connected. And I don't know if you've paid attention to the college football news lately. We're going to get kickoff times for the first 3 weeks, 2 weeks from now. It'll happen 2 Thursdays from now. So mark that on your calendars. But you had, I think it was The Athletic that was first on this one, reported that ESPN/Disney is prepared to increase payout or their contract with the SEC, their annual payout, if the league goes to 9 conference games. And the reporting was between $50 and $80 million, divided 17 ways, between $3 and $5 million more per school per year. I can't talk tonight. Per school per year. Of course, the league gets a cut, so that's why you divide it 17 ways. And when we talked about the story on the radio show, I said it's as simple as you are not going to get the SEC to agree to that. They will not go to a 9th conference game unless they get the automatic bids in the playoff. Sure enough, literally a day later, Ross Dellinger, the great college football, especially the business side of college football reporter, reported that the playoff format is gaining steam. The one that we've talked about briefly before, where you have a flurry of automatic bids. You have 4 automatic bids for the SEC, 4 for the Big Ten, 2 for the ACC, 2 for the Big 12, 1 for the G5, or I guess it's G6 now, and then 3 at-larges. It literally came a day later that the SEC is possibly going to get this money, and then the next day it was, here's the playoff format being discussed the most. You are not getting one without the other. You are not going to get the SEC to make an agreement on playoff format without getting automatic bids if they're going to expand to 9 conference games. Those two things, just 1 + 1 = 2, and that's how it's going to go down. I expect both of them to happen, and you should too, and all the reporting indicates that it's going to happen. The SEC is going to get more money. They're going to go to 9 conference games only when they get the playoff automatic bid approved, right? That's just how it's going to be. So does that help Ole Miss? Does it hurt Ole Miss? The 9-game conference schedule, if it happened on its own, I would say ultimately it hurts. You are only increasing the difficulty of your schedule if you do that. Being able to control 1/3 of your schedule and pick and choose who you play and where you play them and when you play them is advantageous for everybody, but especially Ole Miss, since they don't have a non-conference permanent rival like South Carolina does. South Carolina has to play Clemson every year. Look at Ole Miss's schedule this season. To be honest with you, Tulane is pretty tough, but Ole Miss doesn't have to play a Clemson. On a usual year, Florida has to play Florida State, right? And I know Florida State's coming off of an awful season, but you get my point. They have those built-in rivalries that makes it difficult. But Ole Miss has Washington State and Georgia State and Tulane. I mean, that's what we're talking about here with Ole Miss. So getting to control that is most certainly advantageous. And so when that goes away, it makes the schedule a little bit more difficult. My question is, if they go to 9 conference games, is the Power 5 for requirement still intact? If that's the case, that's good for the viewer, right? That is also eliminating the possibility of having a lot of schedule gap where you have schedule imbalance, I guess is the better phrase. Tennessee kind of had an imbalanced schedule this year. if you look at it. But Mississippi State is on the other end of the scheduling imbalance. Theirs is brutal, and in part because they're not a particularly good team either, but their schedule is awful. Uh, they've got 5 playoff teams in Ole Miss on their schedule. I'm telling you, man, it's awful. Or 4 playoff teams in Ole Miss on their schedule. It sucks. So you have the other side of that as well. Having the extra conference game will allow for a more balanced schedule across the board. So I'm curious to know what that will look like. I think the schedule side of it is neither good nor bad for Ole Miss if you get the expanded playoff, if you get the 4 automatic bids plus the 3 at-larges. So most years, you're going to get 5 SEC teams in the playoff. And I think that that is massive, huge, huge for Ole Miss moving forward if that is what happens. Because as you guys have seen it already, they can get there. Under this proposed format, which is going to get approved, by the way, under this proposed format, Ole Miss would have made the playoff last year. An underachieving team relative to fan expectations would have made the playoff a year ago. And you have a clearly defined goal, right? You're not at the liberty of a committee deciding between you and Miami or you and Alabama or whatever. You have a clearly defined metric. Finish top 4 in the SEC and you make the playoff. That's it. It's a football thing. They're even considering having play-in games for the SEC because if you go to a 16-team playoff, what's the benefit of the SEC championship? There is not a benefit of the SEC championship. There will be no more buys. The bye thing is gone. You would just play an extra game and 2 teams would hit each other for 4 hours for no reason because there's no bye to have received, right? So they're looking at possibly having play-in games where the 3 seed in the SEC would play the 6 and the 4 would play the 5 for the final 2 spots. And that would be on championship weekend. That is theater that I would sign up for. I love that idea. I know you're possibly going to get concerned for an oversaturation of the regular season. I get that. If you continue to add games, the ones that you've already played matter a little bit less, but man, that would be great theater. But it's a clearly defined, outlined metric, and it's an achievable thing for you. Will you do that every year? Probably not. But can Ole Miss be a program that repeatedly competes for the top 6 in the SEC if you get the play-in thing happen? Or the top 5 if it just stays as is? Absolutely, you can be that. That is an achievable, attainable goal that can happen with some level of regularity, especially if things are going to continue the way they're going right now. You don't have to figure out a way to have the same resources as Texas to be a team that makes the playoff with some level of regularity. So I don't like, just as a general rule, as a college football fan, I don't like the automatic bid thing for the playoff because I don't think you should treat the conferences as if they are static. The SEC and the Big Ten are comparable leagues right now. I think the SEC is still better top to bottom, but the Big Ten is viable, right? They're on a very similar playing field financially for sure. So them each getting 4 is okay right now. But what happens if Michigan continues to fall off? That team really underachieved last year. What happens if they do it again? What happens if Wisconsin can never get back off the mat? What happens if the Big Ten starts reducing in quality of team? What happens if the SEC starts reducing in quality of team? What happens if the ACC really only deserves 1 team? Or what happens if they elevate themselves and they start becoming a conference that is more comparable to that of the SEC or the Big Ten? The quality of these leagues is dynamic. It changes all the time. The SEC's been at the top, but there have been years where it's been better than others. And there's years where the Big Ten's been better than other years, and so on and so forth. And I really can't quite figure out why you want to guarantee a G6 team where about half the time they would make it organically anyway. I don't understand why you're gifting them a life raft here unless the TV network who does partner with the Sun Belt, for example, is kind of making you do it. Otherwise, I don't know why you would guarantee that for them anyway. So, as a general principle, I don't like the automatic bids. I don't think that each conference deserves a set number in perpetuity. But if that's what the format is going to be, it without a doubt, 100% is beneficial for Ole Miss. It gives you a clearly defined, attainable goal that you get there only by winning football games. You don't have to win in a committee room. You don't have to hope that you brands matter. No, you just like making the NFL playoffs. It's clearly defined. The best records get in, win your division, you're in. It's really that simple, right? That concept coming to college football where 4 or 5 teams in the SEC are getting bids every year, it's huge for Ole Miss. It allows access that in the playoff era you really haven't had, with the exception of just last season. So it's coming. The 9-game conference schedule is coming, which will come with $3 to $5 million extra a year for Ole Miss, which of course is good for the institution. I know everybody gets it, but everybody needs it, with the exception of Texas. But that's good for you, the fan, more so than it is the program. More compelling games is good for you, the viewer. The bigger thing is the playoff. And the closer we get and the more reporting we get to decision time, the more likely it appears to be that this is going to be how it goes down, with the SEC and the Big Ten in control of the format. And if it goes down like this helps Ole Miss. So I'll give you, I'll pay a couple bills and then read some messages and then get out of here. I know baseball's going on right now, so I appreciate those of you that are here. And yeah, I just really appreciate you guys. So after I tell you, the podcast is brought to you in part by Advantage Business Systems. Check them out online at absms.com. Advantage Business Systems has you covered for all of your Mississippi office technology needs. Tell them I sent you, got a complimentary office technology assessment. So you tell them what you need and what your budget is, and they will find a solution for you on me. That's Advantage Business Systems for all of your Mississippi office technology needs. Also, Priority One Bank. They make you their priority, especially with things like loans, really personal stuff. You sit down with somebody that will get to know you face to face. At my previous bank, I wanted a mortgage and I had to talk to somebody on Zoom. It was ridiculous. That's not at Priority One Bank. You'll get to sit down with somebody face to face and they'll take care of you. They've got 16 locations here, so there's likely one in your backyard. Check them out at Priority One Bank. On to football. Aren't they just going to completely revamp schedules once they go to 9 games? Does everyone get specific rivalry opponents? The format, the scheduling format that they floated around a while ago was not the pods. The pod idea was you had 4 teams that all played each other. It was like a own little division, like an NFL division is what was floated out there. 4 pods of 4. The next one was everybody, the 3+6. Everybody has 3 permanent opponents, and then the 6 is rotating, and you will play every team in the SEC twice in 4 years. So every student at an SEC school will have a road game at every other school in the SEC at least once in their 4 years as a student, which is, I think that's a really cool format. That's what it needs to be, in my opinion, is if you're going to be a conference, you got to play everybody with regularity. The current format's just insane. So that was like the most popular idea at the time, and that's the one that I think is going to happen. How they choose the teams has been up for debate. There's been an idea to divide the league into tiers, to 2 tiers based on recent performance. And maybe they shuffle that over time, or maybe they keep it forever. But you would have 1 permanent opponent from the tier that you're not in, and then 2 from the one that you're in, if that makes sense. But I think they need to do whatever they can to preserve as many rivalries as possible. You have to make sure Texas and Texas A&M are playing each other every year. You have to make sure that's one of the 3. You have to make sure Ole Miss and State are one of the 3, and so on and so forth. I think Ole Miss needs to play LSU every year. I think the dream, just for tradition and rivalry and stuff like that, would be Ole Miss, Mississippi State, LSU, and Arkansas. I don't want to see the Arkansas game go away, uh, but for only twice in 4 years instead of every year for 4 years. I don't want to see that go away. But that would be what they do. It would be a 3+6 model to preserve as many rivalries as possible. If they go to 9 conference games, the 9-3 teams have to be in the playoff. It's a guarantee. It will absolutely happen 150%. It is a guarantee 100%. And frankly, if you play a 9-game SEC schedule plus a Power 4 non-conference opponent, 9-3 is certainly worthy of making the playoff and certainly can win the playoff. Say you're a team like Arkansas or Mississippi State who has issues winning winning conference games. They typically have 3 to 4 built-in wins to get a boost, but now this could cripple that. That is the downside, and that's what how much is that extra potential loss worth to you in millions? I think it's going to get approved, especially when you're talking about possibly $5 million more a year per school. I don't know if you can turn that money down. I really don't. Even if you're a program that's struggling right now, like Mississippi State and Arkansas, that's just too much money to turn down. And I don't know if your side would have enough votes anyway, personally. So, question about the 12-team format. You think for this coming season, what happened in the playoff might shift some favor towards the power conferences, or do they just not care? So, what you're seeing right now is that there is one more year of the playoff being controlled by everybody. This is the last year of that. After this year, the Big Ten and the SEC control it, basically on their own. And so nobody else is going to do anything that could possibly benefit the SEC or the Big Ten this year without getting something in return, because this is their last year of control. How do I think this affects the probability or timeline of a football breakaway by the larger conferences and schools? What this, to me, doesn't impact it really at all. What's going to impact it is whether or not the presidential committee on We're Going to Save College Football, co-chaired by a billionaire in Nick Saban, if they can actually get anything done. That's to me. And I'm mostly like, I don't have this sourced, right? I think I'm just trying to do simple math, 1 + 1, right? The ACC is going to be dead in 5 years. The brands will be able to get out of their grant of rights in 5 years. They'll be able to buy themselves out of the ACC's TV deal that is much, much, much cheaper than that of the Big Ten and the SEC's. I think when they blow the ACC up, if nothing has been done to, quote unquote, save the sport by the commission chaired by a billionaire, Nick Saban, that's when you will see a breakaway, is when the ACC blows up. It's my theory. Anyway, Ole Miss should make a 16-team playoff, at least in some form of consistency. Not every year, but definitely a common thing. They're a top 6-ish SEC football program right now. Absolutely. And so, like what as I was saying earlier, if the SEC decides to blow up the championship game and do the play-in thing, that means you're playing in the postseason, in the playoff, if you're a top 6 team. That should be that should be where you finish with some regularity. Should be. Guess it's because I'm older and I like the old system where it was best team over the entire season, but making a playoff as the 3rd, 4th, 5th seed in the conference is like a bowl game. I see your point, but it's not like a bowl game because you are in the playoff. You know what I mean? I think expansion had to happen. In part because look at who won the national championship. Who was the best team in college football this year? It was Ohio State. Who'd they play? They played Notre Dame, who lost to Northern Illinois. Neither one of those teams would have been in the 4-team playoff. Neither one of them. Ohio State was the best team in college football this year from start to finish. They were. They were absolutely they were deserving national champion. So they were proof that expansion got it right. And in the 14 playoff and in the BCS, you excluded an undefeated power conference champion from an opportunity to play for a championship. And if that's the case, you can't tell me that college football has the best regular season and the regular season matters so much, because the regular season did not matter at all to Florida State. They won every single one of their games, including their power conference championship, and they were not even allowed the opportunity to play for a championship. That's a bad format. You can't tell me the regular season is great and it matters so much and then completely throw that away come playoff time. And of course, you guys know what happened in the BCS era as well. So, was the selection criteria about TV ratings just a rumor, or is that actually going to factor in? I would be shocked beyond measure if that actually factors in. I think that's muscle flexing from the SEC and the Big Ten. I think that's, you guys really want to play hardball with us right now? Because we can do ridiculous stuff like that. And we know that nobody watches your games and everybody watches ours. I hope that's what that was. Like the 3+6, Ole Miss can play State, LSU, and Arkansas. It's got to be State, LSU, and Arkansas, right? Need to preserve the historical Miss Vandy Khaki Bowl. Hey, it's good that Ole Miss is not playing Vandy this year. Year 2 of Diego Pavia. Nine conference games plus a Power 4 opponent. Sounds brutal. Only 2 cupcake. I can't talk tonight, guys. I'm done. I'm done talking today. I can't believe it. I'm embarrassing myself. I had that kind of stuff on the radio show today as well. So I did some early morning weed whacking and yard work, and it caused an allergy flare up, and like everything's swollen internally. That's what it is. But anyway, yeah, that can create brutal schedules. So it's better for entertainment for sure. Do I think schools like Miami, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, etc., could get left behind? I don't think Miami or Oklahoma State would. I definitely don't think Miami would. But yeah, there's a real chance that there are schools getting left behind when the breakaway happens. And I'm telling you, that day's coming. That they are not going to save college sports and bring it back to the good old days. It's not going to happen. There's too much money at stake. You're not going to get a bill from Congress that anybody likes. An executive order even can be challenged in court. And it doesn't sound like the president is very keen on doing something like that anyway. So, yeah, it's entirely possible that something like that happens. You've already seen it. I know it's conference realignment, but they've already set precedent for that. What do I think about ESPN and Josh Pate's new rankings? I have not seen Josh Pate's rankings. I have no idea what they are. I think that his power poll thing that he does is just a troll. I really do. I respect the content game, and I mean he's wildly successful. So jokes on me, but I don't even look at it because I don't think it's sound and logic. Georgia would have won the championship in 2023 with an expanded field. 100%. The best team in college football did not win the national championship that year. What SEC jobs do I think come open in December or have a coach on the hot seat? Arkansas, definitely. Kentucky, for sure. Roll out another 2-10, and Jeff Lebby would be. I don't think they're going 2-10, but they did it last year. So do that again, and that's something. If Auburn underachieves again, I know that he's been battling prostate cancer this offseason, but Hugh Freeze would be another one. The hottest seat is Arkansas and Kentucky, though. 16-team playoff with auto bids would kill every conference. Hope they don't do that. I actually disagree. I do think that will actually allow for some level of viability within the conferences. I mean, if you're the Big 12, you're guaranteed 2 playoff spots. That's probably, that protects you to some degree. because at least still have access. They could very easily bury you. They're at least giving you some access. Ole Miss is a consensus top 20 team in most preseason content you've seen. Yeah, that is most definitely benefit of the doubt given to Lane Kiffin, and he's earned that, right? 39 wins in 4 years, you've earned that. And everything that people have heard about Austin Simmons is also like making its rounds, and like Andy and Ari got to interview him recently, and so they got to feel firsthand, how impressive he is on top of what you hear about his athletic ability. I mean, Ole Miss appears to be in really good hands at the quarterback position. So yes, they lose a first-round pick, a wildly successful first-round pick in Jackson Dart, but man, that they seem really comfortable with what they have at quarterback. And I mean, I think defensively they're still going to be really solid in the front six. And schedule sets up pretty nicely. It makes sense. ESPN new rankings have Clemson and Penn State very high. That makes sense. Both returning a lot of people. I really like Clemson this year. I think they're a sleeper national championship contender. I really like Klubnik a lot. I think they're going to win a lot of games, including LSU in week 1. If Ole Miss loses to Kentucky, hit the red button. Oh gosh, can we have a good summer first before we start talking about that? But anyway, I'm with you. I don't get the Drew Aller thing at all. I don't get it at all. It makes absolutely no sense to me. No sense to me at all. But anyway, I got to go. I appreciate you guys. You're the best, and I will see you on Thursday night. Y'all have a good one.